Welcome, everyone, to the Gibberish HS Discussions podcast. My name is Gibberish, aka Josh, and today I am joined by John,
Hello.
Matt,
Hello.
and Larry.
Hello.
We have 4 people on. Every podcast is just getting a little bit larger. So, we're going to be discussing. Dang it. Oh my god. Alright. So today we're going to be discussing 3 different subjects today. We're going to be talking about the new Narnia Netflix TV series and interesting potential that has. We'll be going into a surprise segment, which is about the J.J. Abrams Justice League Dark TV series. And then we will also be talking about Jurassic World 3. I believe the name is Dominion. So, with that, let us start with the Narnia Netflix TV series. So, the specifics haven't been exactly confirmed yet, but from the sound of things, there will be at least one TV series and at least one film, with the probability of a film series and a TV series, so multiple of both. Matthew Aldrich, who co-wrote Pixar's Coco, has signed on as the creative architect of all Chronicle of Narnia's projects. So, with that in mind, we know not much about it, to be honest, alright? It's still, I don't think they've even started production. So, what are y'all's hopes and doubts for this? We'll start with Matt.
My hopes is honestly they just adapt reasonably. That's about really I can hope. Take what's necessary, don't put in any fat, and just make it valid and good. I mean, the original trilogy, or at least the 3 that came out, were fine on their own. They had their problems, but successful.
Yeah.
The only doubts I could think of is how they handle it, since they've got 7 books to cover. And if it's going to be a TV series, that's going to be a lot of seasons, or just trimmed fat of every book to cover in 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a lot of 7 books, 1 season per that. That's a lot, and for it to get the entire series covered, I mean, people would have to like it a lot. I think for Netflix to devote that many seasons to it. What do you think, John?
Well, Well, I guess the season thing is good because they gotta stay true to the source material, but also, not. I mean, like Game of Thrones, got rid of a lot of stuff just to keep it within one storyline per book, at least for the first few seasons that they had books on. Mm-hmm. But I still hope they stay true to the source material as possible, and just like the scenes, and also just like the theme as well, because I know Lord of the Rings is a very Chronicles of Narnia is a very religiously themed series. So I'd be curious, and as a religious person myself, it'd be really cool to see them stay very true to the themes, the religious themes that C.S. Lewis tried to put into there. So,
Larry, what do you think?
Oh, here you are. I hope they stay to the book, true to the book, and give more detail of each character and the forest, and plus of the character behind the backstories. So don't cut it short. If you're gonna be a series, make a series about one person or one issue per person or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, make sure they really stay true to the books. I feel like is the most important part. Which, until they ran out of books, Game of Thrones, like you said, John, did a very good job of adapting. They took out the things that we didn't need, and that's one of the most popular TV shows of all time. So now it sounds like, from what I've heard from you guys would rather a TV show over a movie series. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
It's very challenging to put a whole book into a 2-hour movie format. You have to cut out a lot.
Yeah.
And it can be done well. I like the Harry Potter series did a great job of that for the most part. There are a few critiques that could be made of it, but most fans of the books are satisfied by the movies. But that's not true for a lot of book to movie adaptations. That's because you just have to cut out a lot in order for it to make it work. And sometimes you just accidentally cut out the heart and soul of the story by what you have to cut out. So a series allows you to keep more of the essential things that make the story what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. TV series would help with that. Go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say, if anything, if they're doing a movie, the big thing would be save it for last and make it like a 2.5 or 3 hour epic instead of just one show. Because I've read all the books, so the last book can generally be done in a movie format with enough love and attention. The other books have a lot of mysticism to them, so a series would help identify said mysticism and characters a little deeper than what as mentioned, a 2-hour movie could do.
Definitely, yeah. And I feel like if you're looking for a really good, I thought the movies were good. The original 3, and this is a reboot, so we're not gonna pick up from there, and new actors and all that. I did think the original trilogy did do a good job. I would love to see Tilda Swinton again play the witch. I thought she was great as that role, so that would be really fun. At least to get maybe some cameos or stuff. In my opinion, she was probably like the best actress in that entire series. So
I'd also be curious to see are they going to start, because it'd be dangerous to like repeat the stories we've already seen in movie format or in TV format. So do you think they're going to start with the Magician's Nephew, which is actually the first book in the series, but I don't think it's the first book. I mean, there's almost like a Lord of the Ring. I mean, not a Star Wars sequence to the books, from what I've heard. I don't know the exact sequence because I haven't read the books.
Yeah,
but I know they're not in order as
books 1 through 7 are different in the order, so chronologically.
Exactly.
Because some of them are before the kids reach Narnia and stuff like that. I believe The Horse and His Boy is before The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. But whether or not they chose to do that, I think a TV show would be a big enough branch to keep people interested in. So could this be a competitor to the Lord of the Rings TV series that Amazon is making?
Potentially, yeah.
I was gonna say it'd be more family friendly, because considering that they're gonna make the Silmarillion a series that's got a lot of darker things and generally a lot of harder concepts for families to understand. Not to mention, it's basically a history of Middle Earth for the Amazon series, while Chronicles of Narnia would be more family oriented. Not to mention, it would be just better. It would have a bigger audience, but maybe not as much pull.
Yeah. What were you saying, John?
Well, my hope is that they don't compete with each other; they complement each other. Because if you know anything about C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, they were actually best friends. They're both very religious people who made their stories have religious themes to them, and they were also best friends. They were really close with one another. So to have both a Chronicles of Narnia series and a Lord of the Rings series coming out around the same time, I think is especially as a fan of both the series and as a Christian who's been influenced by both of those men, I think it'd be cool to just have them complement each other and be able to see how Tolkien handled it and how Lewis handled it. So
that'd be very interesting. What do you think, Larry?
I think they should run the old ones so the kids can see what they like, then run the series, so the kids can get the idea of what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that is very interesting is that I believe from last I checked, Lord of the Rings Amazon is putting. Lord of the Rings is gonna have the biggest budget of any TV show ever, even past Game of Thrones, past the Disney Marvel movies. I believe the budget is over $1 billion, which has never been done for a TV show. So I think it's also going to depend on how Netflix wants to pair this off with it. But we see Netflix creating a bunch of competitors to popular shows. You got The Witcher, which is kind of compared to Game of Thrones, and Narnia being compared to Lord of the Rings. So it is a very interesting dynamic. So besides the book interpretation, there is, I believe, a confirmed movie. How do you think the movie will be separate from the TV show? Do you think maybe they'll do like prequel, like the prequels could be like movies, like little spin-off movies, like Solo and Rogue One did for Star Wars? What do you think, Matt?
It's possible. If there's only one confirmed, they may. I would hope to save it for last because then they could put all their money in one bag. But if it was to be a prequel, I think it'd be a good way to do the Silver Chair, the Horse and His Boy, Magician's Nephew, because those have a lot of elements, and they're also the smaller of multiple stories, so they could be very well condensed into 2.5 hour movie with almost no cutoff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It makes sense only if they're doing it as like the first or the last. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Magician's Nephew, because I have a friend who's read all the books, is like really deep into them, and I think she's saying like Magician's Nephew is like mainly about creation, and it goes like really descriptive into how Aslan, who's supposed to represent the god, like created everything, and so like I think having like a movie format might make more sense to just like world build, and then have the series launched like right after it, and one of the books like this part of the main story, or have it at the very end where it's more like revelation, because I hear like the last book in the series is supposed to have like a lot of parallels to that. So.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Larry?
So it makes sense as either the first or last.
Yeah. What do you think,
They
Larry?
should do it last. They should do it last to have a closer.
Yeah, like the last book could be like a sequel to the TV series and kind of finish it off, big dramatic style.
And if they want to write more books, they can write more books and continue the story.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like most or a lot of series now are about an hour long per episode. That's how Game of Thrones was. That's how a lot of main streaming shows are an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
So, and most movies are around 2 to 2.5 hours. So it could just be like a series finale / movie.
Yeah.
That ends the whole thing. So
like a big 3-part episode arc kind of thing to finish it off.
Exactly, yeah. So.
Well, yeah, it sounds like when I heard about Narnia coming back, I always hoped for the 4th movie. So I'm actually excited, if I can say that Netflix is doing it. Like, I think it's good that Netflix is doing it, because I think if Netflix treats it right, they can make a really good franchise with it. So. Moving on to segment 2, we are talking about J.J. Abrams' Justice League Dark TV series. So if you don't know, Justice League Dark is a comic book series, right, Matt? You're the comic book expert, so.
Yes, it deals with the more magical side of the things that Superman would never fight. Superman would never fight a demon.
Mm-hmm.
He'd never go against a ghost. It goes more with Zatanna, Raven,
Constantine.
the more magical occultic members, including Batman from time to time, since he literally has scared off Reapers of his own.
Yeah.
Also, magic is one of Superman's weaknesses, and it's not just kryptonite. So
yeah,
that's true.
Very interesting there. And there was a Justice League Dark animated film in the DCAU. I never saw that. What did you think that interpreted the comic very well, Matt?
Oh yeah, I thought it did fantastic. Honestly, only I wish it had more Swamp Thing. It's all that's a good character that never really gets much love except for a solo series or a cameo in a comic book run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Dark comic series I've always enjoyed. I've read a little bit of them. I'm in the middle of it right now, so I don't know a whole lot. But I do really enjoy the more mystical and magical side. Some of my favorite episodes of the Justice League Unlimited animated series were like some of the ones that explored the magician side of things. So seeing this is really interesting. I think the part that makes it so unique, though, is that it's live action, which is confirmed, and it's J.J. Abrams of all people. Now, I'm not an expert on J.J. Abrams, but is he known for doing TV shows?
He did Lost. Lost is how, I believe, is how he got his start. The huge phenomenon of a series that crashed and burned at the end. That's J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, it burned. It burned big time.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a weird ending.
So J.J. Abrams, I feel like, has had a very interesting last decade. Because we all know of Rise of Skywalker not doing well. Force Awakens, I would say the majority of people did enjoy Force Awakens. And then you have,
it was okay. It wasn't bad.
And then you have the Star Trek Into Darkness, which that was J.J. Abrams, and right, Matt?
Yeah. Star Trek and Into Darkness were both his movies, and then Beyond was done by a different director, which, in my personal opinion, Beyond was the best and had the most Star Trek feeling motions in comparison to Abrams' movies, which felt more like sci-fi action.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So,
but he did good. He did visually, at least.
Yeah, I would say the first Star Trek was really good, and I feel like the second one is a little overkill with some of the fan service. I feel like that's JJ's biggest weakness is his somehow need for fan service. So, Larry, what?
Well, he basically did Khan's death. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's fine. So, Larry, what do you think with JJ doing this? Do you think in the TV series it's going to have a lot of just a ton of Justice League fan service and stuff like that?
Probably, but I surely hope it need to be more about the comic as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's true to the story, what the comic says.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's probably the biggest part, right? The comic needs to be adapted properly. And if they did it with the movie, then surely they can do it with a TV show. John, do you think that
why not.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
I'll see why not they couldn't.
I mean, a TV show allows for so much more depth and character growth that you're able to push a lot more of the content forward. Do you guys think that that maybe the Dark comic series, depending on how many episodes they give, that a TV series could be too much? That they should just do a movie?
It's hard for me to know that because I haven't read the comic book series. So if it's a really brief, then yeah, it could be too much unless they do a really short mini series. Yeah. But if it's if the comic book series is really long and in depth, then I have no measure for what the source material is, so I can't really comment on that.
What do you think, Matt, since you've read the source material?
I feel like if they're to do it, do a characterization variant, kind of like Doom Patrol, where Doom Patrol had their characters, they gave you their stuff, but in the end, they teamed up. Oh. So having the first part being the members meeting up as their personal journeys intervene with each other, and then having that be the whole thing, because honestly it'd be more episodic since it'd be 2 to 3 episodes per supernatural threat versus one giant boss, unless they went big with the overall deceased villain list, which is literally Satan and several other creatures.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I think another thing to keep in mind, which if we haven't had a Justice League TV show, especially live action, ever, but just a Justice League show since I believe the originals in what was that, early 2000s? So
I think mid to late.
Yeah, so how do you think that's gonna go? You think a Justice League show is gonna do better than a movie, Matt?
Probably, just because you can really play with the characters, and live action or not, you at least have better focal points. Titans, Doom Patrol both showed that you can do team-driven shows in very well formatted places. Same with Marvel's Netflix shows. they had good ways that they could take out half the series and give the character arc, and it made for a better characterization of what was necessary.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to do Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman ever again because we know their story. But rehashing some characters' lines and maybe redoing it for a series would be an easier line to draw than just trying to force them into one hodgepodge and making it work.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like that could be, if they don't do this right, it's going to be a really big backfire. The problem with team-up movies is that a lot of team-up movies have too much, like they just rush things too much and are like, fight the bad guy, you know, now we're friends. So it is really interesting to see if they don't do this right, it could have consequences. What were you saying, Matt? I mean, John?
So I have a question then. So since this is live action, is Flash going to be in this movie? And two, who's playing Flash? Is it the CW Flash or is it the Flash from the Justice League movies? Or are we gonna have another Flash actor?
So that is something we don't know if it's connected to the Arrowverse, if it's connected to the DCU. We don't know really much, anything that except for this is happening, that JJ is directing it, and it will be on HBO Max. That's all we know.
It could be a crossover.
It could be.
Because that's the thing, if it's on HBO Max, I don't think it's going to be connected to the CW. No. So I guess it almost have to be if it's not connected to the movie universe, then you'd have to, like, you're talking about like another Flash, and already like kind of crowded. I don't know. There's three Flashes going on at one time. That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we have seen Ezra Miller's Flash crossover into the CW Flash. That has happened. Yeah, there was a
crossover.
There was a crossover where Barry Allen and Ezra Miller. Who is the guy who plays Barry Allen in the CW show?
Brent Gustin?
Yeah, Brent Gustin and Ezra Miller's Flash appear on the CW show at one point. But I was thinking that this would most likely...
I totally missed that. Okay.
It's like in the big Crisis on Infinite Earth thing that they did for a while, I believe. It was like towards the end, I think. I never watched it. I just saw the clip. So, but one thing that is to keep in mind is that there is the Titan universe. So, if you haven't watched Titans, don't worry, not too many spoilers. But Titans is with Doom Patrol. Is Stargirl in the Titans universe, Matt?
I don't think so. I think they're trying to push her more like a CW style character.
Okay.
Because Titans and Doom Patrol and Swamp Thing, they're all in the DC app, which is their own like rated R universe, not necessarily a family-friendly universe.
Yes. So the important thing to realize is that HBO Max is kind of going to be like DC's new platform. They haven't announced that anything new besides Stargirl is going to be coming onto the DC Universe streaming service, but I think they have confirmed that Titan Season 3, Doom Patrol Season 2, and I think Krypton Season 2 will all be on HBO Max. So they said they're not taking DC Universe down, but it looks like HBO Max is going to be their new place, if that makes sense. So does that leave options for Justice League Dark to be in this universe?
I feel like it. I mean, it'd be right at home, especially if you set it up as they're in the underground. They're not on, you don't see them on TV. They're not like Doom Patrol and Titans where they make the news. They're the people that hide the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
They're aware of what's happening, but they don't mess with it because it's not their job. They have bigger things to fry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that because in Doom Patrol at least, like Cyborg's goal in the show is to like join the Justice League, right? I think his father really pushes that forward for him. So that's why he's kind of upset when he joins Doom Patrol. So we know that the Justice League does exist in this universe. Then again, Bruce Wayne is British, so there's also that to keep in mind. So I think the chances of that are very slim, but I don't know. What would you guys like? Would you like this to be in the Titans universe, Arrowverse, or the DC EU? Let's start with Larry. Larry, which one would you rather this be in, or its own?
Titans. Larry said Titans.
Titans.
Titan universe.
Mm-hmm. Why?
I love the both. The both seasons great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What would you say, John?
Well, I'm actually unfamiliar with the Titan universe. I haven't seen that. I'm just familiar with like the CW and the DCU, whatever the movie cinematic universe is officially called. I forget. So out of the two, I would probably say the movie universe, because we already had like a Superman appearance in the Supergirl show, and that didn't necessarily go over all that great. I think there's rumors that there's already going to be a Batman in the next season 2 of Batwoman, assuming there is one now. So it'd be weird to form a Justice League in that universe just because of how they've already treated some of the characters in it.
Yeah.
So I think just if you're going from established universe all over out of the two that I'm familiar with, the movie universe makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's got its own problems.
All right, Matt, what do you think?
Prospectively, I would rather Titansverse only because they have more versatility with the rating, and it doesn't have to be rated TV-14. It could be TVMA for valid reason, but it could go either movie or Titanverse. Considering it's Abrams, he might go a little lighter. Or if he's willing to actually hit the tone of what Dark is all about, it might be Titansverse. It's just really hard to say, but I'd rather Titansverse only because of the fact that it could be TVMA, have some blood and gore, and some content that shows the occultic nature at its worst.
Yeah, I'd like it to be MA. So if Titanverse is the best universe for that, then I mean, just that alone would be a big selling point to me.
Yeah, I think Titans has the most flexibility right now. CW show, like, not to get anyone upset who watches those shows, but it is a little melodramatic for like that CW audience. You know, that's targeting a specific audience, and then the movie universe is targeting more of a widespread, kind of millennial-ish. Movie audience when they're a typical like Marvel audience, but I feel like Titans hits a different audience, which Justice League Dark could benefit from. Titans hits I feel like it hits the fans that just like interesting stories and good character development, if that makes sense. Larry and Matt, since you watched the show, you probably know this. You kind of know what I'm talking about. You have a better way of explaining that. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well.
It's got better ways to tell a character's story within a boundary that makes it feel sometimes organic, sometimes not, but at least in a way that the audience can either A, completely dislike the character for that reason, or like the character for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Larry.
If you get to know the characters, you get to choose a character you actually like, and you can watch them, and it tells the good side and the bad side of each character, what they're going through with their career and life and their childhood.
Yeah. Big character development for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this on the Justice League Dark thing. They need to bring back Matt Ryan for Constantine.
Yes.
Because he is damn near perfect.
Yes.
Wasn't that also a CW show?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Fox, I think. I think it was a Fox show that got canceled, and CW picked it up for a cameo appearance.
Gotcha.
Yeah, similar to like what they did with Lucifer, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I thought
Lucifer became part of the CW?
I think it was just like a little thing. Like they didn't really flush it out. I think it was just like a rumor. But Matt, I thought for sure you were gonna say you want Keanu Reeves to play Constantine.
Nah,
I thought that's what you were building up for. I really did. Oh my.
That'd be cool if it happened.
I can't. His Constantine does not fit the
No.
comic book bill. He's good for his movie, but bad for a comic book.
He's a good John Wick,
Not against
not
him.
Constantine.
Yes, but hell, in the series, spoiler, Constantine does heroin, dies to go fight a demon. In the comic, he would absolutely do that, and he does.
Yeah. Yeah, Constantine is kind of a sociopath, but he's a smart one. Kind of like Batman. So I could definitely see this going the right way. My last question for the Justice League Abrams thing, though, is with Abrams doing this, we know Abrams, I would say he prefers more the PG-13 kind of rating. But when we get to a streaming service show, it seems like there's always some language and stuff kind of in there. And do you think that this being on a streaming service is better for the show to allow it to get darker, or would you say it would benefit from a PG-13 rating? Sorry.
I was gonna say, wasn't it Abrams who did that like evil Superman movie or the evil Super Boy movie? Or I forget what it was called. Or was that James Gunn?
That was
It
James
came out a couple
Gunn
years.
that did,
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Abrams was a part of that.
Actually, why isn't James Gunn doing this? That is a great idea, John. James Gunn would be so much better for this. That makes me mad now.
I would. I mean, knowing that he actually follows the material and actually knows what he's looking at half the time, automatically a good win. But I would say streaming services wise, it will give flexibility. And I actually just remembered, Abrams worked with Fringe.
He did?
Which was a really
Fringe too. Yeah, I remember that
I
show.
forgot about that.
And if he does that, Mojo just doesn't make it as science fiction, a lot more magical. I feel like it could get away with T14 and or MA based on the content of each episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of potential there with Abrams. I just have a love-hate relationship with Abrams. I like him. I like 60% of his movies, and then some of them I'm just like, why? So I was very conflicted when I heard about it, and I know when I told Matt, he just said lens flares everywhere. So who knows what's gonna happen?
Batman cameos every episode for lens
Abrams
flares.
and Abrams and his lens flares, man.
We're gonna see the
He has gotten better about it. I'll say that. Like the Star Trek series, it was just brutal, and Star Wars wasn't as bad. But still, man.
Oh, it's
Calm
pretty
down.
funny. All right, so after all that wonderful discussion about Abrams and how we love every movie he's ever made, we are going to be talking about Jurassic World 3, Dominion, I believe is the name. It has just started production and started back up because of the COVID stuff. And yeah, very interesting movie. Chris Pratt has said that Jurassic World 3 is going to end in a very endgame style where it's coming back with all the old Jurassic Park members. I believe, Matt, do you know if I think the entire cast is coming back from the original Jurassic Park. Like, I think the guy and the girl are coming back, right?
That was the thing. They were actually shown talking. I'll come back, especially Sam Nielsen or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
The guy
Sam
from
Nielsen's coming back?
That's the word on it. He is come back for this movie. They're gonna bring back every major player from the entire trilogy. From the original run, even the if they decide to bring the kid actors back, they'll bring them back. But all the adults so far are talked about to be coming back for this movie.
Interesting.
So if I'm right, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum have been confirmed for the next movie. So, with that, and all the amazing good, Jurassic World 1, I say, was kind of like a good startup to a new franchise. Jurassic World 2 was a very interesting setup, and it ended, spoilers of course, in a kind of a big way with the dinosaurs all being released into the real world. So
Yeah.
with that, how do you think the third movie is going to set up? So what do you think is kind of like a plot that can kind of happen? What do you think the next Jurassic World 3 is going to have the center focus? Let's start with John.
Well, I remember seeing a like I don't think it was a trailer actually. Now that I think about it, I think it was more like just like a full out scene of like of a dinosaur battle and like a and where while a family was out camping, a family was camping in the middle of nowhere, and there's like huge dinosaur battle that happened right beside them. And I remember seeing that scene and being really impressed with it. And I didn't like Jurassic World at all, so much that I didn't even try and see Fallen Kingdom. So though I might have to see it now with the third one coming out. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see them in the real world, because that's what they tried to do with Jurassic Park 2 with the T-Rex, and that was a fun concept, but they didn't do it as well as it could have been done. We'll say that. So
It felt like King Kong with those T-Rex.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Especially with the doors opening. Matt, what do you think? What do you think the third movie can kind of benefit from with having all these people coming into it?
With all the original actors coming back, not to mention the new cast being talked about with all of them, I feel like it'll set it up. The beginning will be the early offset of the nature of dinosaurs back in nature, and then it'll go a few years later where human race is probably going to be hurt, or worse for wear, not necessarily hiding away, but I feel like the way they set it up would be more like they're going to have to hunt the predators and try to cull the herd, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where nature itself is now the bigger threat than humanity.
Yeah.
Especially considering all the carnivores and raptors are now.
Yeah, it's with every dinosaur being released. That's a very interesting plot line that they can build from that. Larry, do you think that the original cast is just gonna have cameos, or do you think they're going to have like large stakes in the plot? Like Jeff Goldblum in the second one, he kind of was just there. Like it was cool, but he didn't have like a huge effect on there. So, do you think that they're gonna be cameos or more?
Cameos.
Cameos.
Probably cameos, most likely, and then new characters will come in and take the spot.
You don't think?
You gotta remember, Blue the dinosaur was a hybrid, I believe. He was crossed with some kind of genes, so he's actually smarter than before.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what part would he play? Who?
Yeah, Blue can have a... I'm sure we haven't seen the last of Blue. That would surprise me. So, now that we don't really know anything about Jurassic World 3 except for what we've already said, so we're going to just be talking about each individual movie now. Jurassic World 1. So, John, we're going to start with you. Since you did not like Jurassic World 1, why don't you explain to us what your problems were, and then we'll go to Matt and see what he thought of it and kind of talk about it a little bit.
It just wasn't a good movie from my perspective. Like it like the action didn't make much sense. The I think the most notable scene in the movie is when like Dallas Howard or whatever ran away from a T-Rex in high heels. Like that just doesn't like you could actually see her like running slower because of it. It was a terrible sequence and a terrible movie. There's no point in the movie where I actually was on the edge of my seat or felt intense or actually felt afraid of the dinosaurs. The only movie to successfully actually create that tension is the first Jurassic Park movie. Mm-hmm. Every other movie, I mean, the Jurassic Park 2 and 3 weren't as bad as Jurassic World in my opinion, but they definitely weren't as great as the first movie. So okay. I think the first movie is the only one that's really. I think the first one's the best one out of all of them that have been made. So
yeah. What about you, Matt? Did you like Jurassic World? And if so, why or why not?
I mean, personally, I loved it only because it was one big fanfare.
Yeah.
It was just let's return. It was the first return to the original Isle in the series after the first movie, because let's not forget 2 and 3 took place on the on Isle 2, while the first movie took on one Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2 took on New Blar, which was the main island, and the cameo of the old mausoleum, the little vehicles, the actual overarching idea of a future park, not just a safari park, felt cool. Granted, it had flaws, I'm not gonna lie. The running away from a T-Rex in high heels is almost so dumb that
Yeah.
I can't get behind it myself.
It's legendarily dumb.
But I will say I was glad to see good old Rexy back, considering that was the original T-Rex from the first movie.
Yeah.
It was just a giant fanfare, and I thought for what it was, it did phenomenal. And I love it to this very moment still.
I kind of saw Jurassic World 1 as like The Force Awakens, and like it wasn't made to like really like blow your mind away. I always thought of it as a way to say, hey, welcome back, kind of way. And that's how The Force Awakens felt to me. It felt like a very safe but interesting storyline, but I personally like Jurassic World more than Force Awakens, just because I feel like it's a little more daring. I feel like it gets more done, if you guys know what I mean.
Well, my thing is it wasn't suspenseful, and I think that's what Jurassic. I think the first and the third one were best at like really creating like intense sequences that had you on the edge of your seat. We were actually concerned for the characters. I actually cared about the characters too, and I was never all
telling me you
characters
don't
were
care about
one-dimensional.
Chris Pratt running away with some raptors on the side against a giant raptor. You didn't emotionally attach to him doing that. That
Yeah.
is
I don't get
disturbing.
emotionally attached to actors. I get emotionally attached to characters. So
Owen.
Star-Lord is a character I care about because they built him up to be a good character. And so if like Star Wars met some tragic end in some later movie, like in Guardians 3, that would affect, especially if his death was written well, that would affect me because his character's been written well, and his death I would assume would be written well. So that would emotionally affect me. But the actor himself, no, you have to write a character well in order for me to care about them. And Chris Pratt's character and most of the characters in Jurassic World are one-dimensional characters. I cared about what is it, Sam Neill or whatever the actor in the first Jurassic Park movie. He was an interesting character that made you care about him. I cared about his relationship with the kids. They actually took time to build the character, so when they were in danger, you actually cared about what happened to them and were on the edge of your seat saying, will they make it out of this? They don't do that in these movies, which makes them boring and dull for me. So
with that, John, what makes let's just take one character. Let's take Owen, Chris Pratt's character, all right? And let's compare him to the main protagonist in Jurassic Park, Sam Neill's character. What differentiates those two characters for you?
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen both those movies. But to me, it's like you actually take time. You actually take time with characters. I always remember the scene in the because they established that Sam's character doesn't like kids. The opening sequence is him with that raptor claw, talking about how the raptors would rip his belly out and scare the crap out of the kid. And you establish this character doesn't like kids. And then when he's put in this situation where he has to protect these kids from these raptors, and I remember in the tree where you actually just see in his face him actually starting to care for these kids, and it just shows you the dimensions of this character that he's not just this one dimensional I hate kids blah 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 blah. He actually can care about kids. He can care about other people.
Arc.
He has an arc that makes you care about him.
Yeah.
I don't really see an arc with Chris Pratt. He was the dino guy, and that's what he was the whole movie through. I don't see any level of dimension, and I guess Owen was his name. See, I don't even remember the character's name because I don't care about him.
Do you remember Sam
But
Neill's name?
huh? I don't. Okay, fair enough.
Haha.
But that movie
All
I
right.
haven't seen.
Dr. Grant.
Okay, but Dr. Grant. But that movie I haven't seen like over 5 years. I've seen Jurassic Park like less than a year, or Jurassic World less than a year ago.
So,
So-
Matt, comparing that against there, what do you think? Do you think Owen has a good character arc compared to Grant?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
I will agree. His writing as a character felt more stoic action hero that had all the weapons to work with.
Hmm.
Where Sam Neill was a almost no talent man when it came down to physical activity outside of excavating, who had to rise above what his limitations were.
Hmm.
Ideally, yeah, he didn't like kids. Him taking care of the kids was actually very awesome. And then in the third movie, him having to overcome his distaste for the disaster that happened to the I can't remember the family's name, but the ones that go to hire him to go to the island so they could find their son. And his entirety of he wanted off the island because he knew how awful things could turn out for himself and other people.
Yeah.
So I feel like between the two of them, Dr. Grant had a much stronger character, and at least had a lot more flesh to his bones. Owen feels, I'll say it, he feels like Star-Lord written for a dinosaur movie.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Good character for what it is, but not good enough to outdo anything else.
I would say Star-Lord has more dimension to him. Like with the death of his mother, like which makes him hard to connect with other people. Like you actually, like, I mean, I guess maybe Owen does too, and I don't remember it, but I don't remember much character depth in Owen I see a lot of that in Star-Lord.
So, okay. All right. So So just hold me real quick. All right. I'm gonna pitch an idea to y'all real quick. All right. So.
All right.
I would argue that Chris Pratt is not the main character of Jurassic World. I would say that Owen is not the main character. I would argue that it is Claire, Bryce Howard's character, who is. And so, if you think about it, who is... I forget her name. I'm sorry. It is Ellie, Grant's partner in Jurassic Park. She does not have I would say, as much as a full arc in Jurassic Park. Without going too much into that, would y'all agree with that?
Yeah, she did.
No, I mean she's still I would say well-written character, but she doesn't have like an arc. She doesn't like change much from the beginning to end.
Exactly.
So.
She's a supporting character. She's a supporting side character that helps Grant's character push on. All right. I would argue. Yeah. I would argue that Owen is basically the same character for Claire, and I argue that because Claire does have an arc. She goes from not just wanting to help her nephews and all that, but she learns that these animals are not just lab experiments or just animals. She actually, over time, cares for the animals, and she has a little arc of learning not to just put work first, but to put the animals first. And I feel like in the second movie, where she becomes a dinosaur activist, she actually becomes that. So I would argue that the roles are reversed here. Instead of having, even though he is like the Star-Lord for dinosaurs, I would argue that Claire is the focus of Jurassic World, and that Pratt is just a side character who, just wears a vest and has a gun. What do y'all say with that? Let's start with John.
So I have a question before I respond. Mm-hmm. So would you say that the movie presents Dallas Bryce Harris' character as the protagonist, or are you just saying that you think based off how the character is written that she ought to be the protagonist?
I would say that the goal of the movie was to make Chris Pratt look like a badass and to make Claire have a good character arc in the movie. I would say that was kind of it. They introduced Claire as this one scientific person, and now she learns to care for the dinosaurs.
Interesting. Okay. Because I always perceived Chris Pratt as the protagonist of the first Jurassic World movie.
Yeah.
And I'd actually agree with you that Bryce's character has more of an actual arc to her.
Mm-hmm.
So going from that perspective, and again, I haven't seen the second one, so I haven't seen her become a dino activist.
Yeah.
So that might be interesting to see. Yeah, I might have to rewatch the movies now and, with that in mind and see what my takeaway is, because that might improve the movie for me. Because my biggest focus in movie is storytelling and character.
Okay.
If you don't have a good, if I don't relate to the character, I'm going to hate your movie. If the story isn't well written, I'm not going to like your movie. So
yeah, and I'm not saying that Jurassic World is better than Jurassic Park. I'm not saying that. I would argue that Jurassic Park, of course, is better, but it doesn't do the best job in showing Claire as the main character. But I am saying that it probably does a decent job. So, Matt, what do you think of that?
So going in with that perspective, I might like the movie better if I watch it and see her as the protagonist. So I'll have to, tell you what I think about that.
I'll agree with that prospectively, considering thinking about the last time I watched it, which has been about 4 months now since I've rewatched it.
Yeah.
I'd say, looking at it in that perspective, it would make sense, because she definitely goes from management material. By the movie, she becomes something of a person that understands that her work ethic didn't quite benefit what she was trying to protect the entire time. And upon seeing that, she realized that she needed to fix that part. Because, looking at it, I like Chris Pratt, and they didn't write Owen to be a three-dimensional character. They gave him the Raptor Trainer prologue and kept him as just that character. He was a Raptor Trainer that loved his raptors, and outside of his raptors, he didn't really have an extra life to work with.
Yeah.
So with Claire having not only a family to worry about, but her job and the things that she's meant to manage and protect, and then getting those roles reversed where she's supposed to protect them and manage them the best way that benefits them, not what benefits her. So I'd say, prospectively, that makes a lot more sense in the overarching idea, which might make her more prominent for the next third movie if they do go with this underlying arc they're trying to make with that.
Yeah, I disagree that she was meant to be the protagonist of the first movie, just based off how the movie presented the characters and how much focus they both got. But hearing what you said makes me think, at the very least, if she was the protagonist, the movie would have been greatly enhanced by that fact.
If they had done a good job with that, the movie would have been much better if they had honed in on that more, like Park did with Grant. I think that
I would have liked the movie a lot more.
I think they tried to balance them both as the main character, and that kind of fell. Once you watch the second movie, I think you'll kind of get a feel, because she is like a completely, her arc continues in that movie, and even Chris Pratt gets a little bit of an arc in that. So, Larry, what do you think of the Jurassic World conversation we just had there?
I do think Chris is, like Matthew said, without his pets, he's really not got a big character.
Yeah.
You get rid of his pets, all you see is only him. You don't see much. And she has grown into the movies. Became a stronger character. She became more family unit, more heart.
Yeah.
So her writing's got a lot better. Because if you got bad writing, you got a bad director, you got a bad character.
Exactly, yeah. And Rise of Skywalker is proof of that. See, we can't even make one podcast episode without mentioning Rise of Skywalker. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. That concludes...
At least it was you this time.
That concludes the episode 2 for our podcast, Gibberish Discussions. I hope y'all enjoyed it as we did. We had lots of fun discussions. Out of all the 3 segments, Jurassic World, Justice League Dark, or Narnia, which one are you guys most excited about? Let's start with John.
Uh, I I think probably Narnia. I'm just really hoping they just like do the source material justice and hoping to see that just the rest of that world. So
Hmm. Which one of the three topics that we talked about are you most excited about?
Honestly, I'm hopefully optimistic only because I'd love to see a proper representation of the B team that in comics gets a lot of single stories, but in media hasn't had much things outside of a few animated features and character cameo.
Okay. So you're most excited about the Justice League Dark TV series?
Oh yeah, hopefully
Mhm.
optimistic. So if I do get disappointed, it's at least a hopeful idea.
J.J. Abrams, you better not screw this up. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Do you guys want to plug in your stuff? John, you have anywhere? Do you want anyone to follow you at?
uh, I don't even know my Twitter handle, so I not currently no.
All right, Matt. What about you? Got anything you
So-
want to plug?
Just my usual thing of my Instagram and DeviantArt underneath BakaNeko07 as the username.
Awesome. And of course, you can check out all our podcasts on Gibberish HS YouTube channel. Please check it out, subscribe, and like this video. We are also going to be coming out on podcasts once I, do that. So once we get that, we will be on iTunes and all the other places you get your podcast. So thank you for watching or listening, and we will see y'all in the next video next Monday. Bye.